Hey everybody, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. This is one of my bush to bonsai Ficus Benjaminas. Going to do a trim and an update. So quick rewind. I got this in January of 23. Chopped it way back. It was a gigantic bush when I got it, hence bush to bonsai. It's my second bush to bonsai that I did. And here it is in May. I transitioned it outside into a little pop-up greenhouse that I have, just so the leaves didn't all burn up. And then after maybe a month or so in that greenhouse, I transitioned it onto the bench. And this was the day that I put it on the bench. So you can see it's kind of just a cluster of a whole bunch of Ficus Benjaminas. You can go back and check some of my older videos to see kind of how I got to this point, and then here it is now. It's grown out quite a bit. It's nice and healthy. Growth coming out everywhere. It's kind of hard to tell at this point what's going on in there. At this stage, I'm kind of minding my own business, just taking some footage here of the leaves, when out of nowhere a yellow jacket comes buzzing in my ear. I take off running. Come back, get a can of Raid, turn on the sprinklers, and I'm ready for war, but luckily he was gone. Luckily for me. So after that episode, I grab it, put it on here, and we're going to trim it up. I'm really happy with how healthy it is. I mean, as you can see, it's just exploding with growth, so that's good. What I've been trying to get it to do, or trying to encourage it to do, is back bud on some of those inner tall branches. It hasn't been wanting to do it. So I took a different approach and I just wound them up with some Teflon plumber's tape to try to fuse them together. I'm going to do kind of a multi-tiered look. It may take a while, but that's okay. Here's a look at the base. For a while I would stick some cuttings in there, but it really wasn't working too well, so as you can see there, some of the cuttings just died off. It's got some cool root spread. So the long story short on this was I saw it on Marketplace for $50. This guy said he had it for 30 years. I want to say it was 30 years, 25 or 30 years. And it's just sat in the same pot, in the exact same spot in his front window that whole time. And he said it just got too big to the point that he couldn't see out of his window anymore, so he wanted to get rid of it. So I swooped in and got it. I'll put a link to that initial video right here so that you can kind of see the transformation of how it looked when I first got it on day one to how I got it into this pot, and you know, the first steps on its journey. My process here is I'm just sort of nipping at it at first, just so I can see what's going on. The main thing to remember when trimming up a Ficus Benjamina is that you have to leave some foliage on the branch. So in other words, if you were to trim a branch all the way back so that there's no leaves left on that branch, that entire branch will die back to the trunk. And if you cut the leaves off of the trunk, it will die back to the last leaf. So that presents a problem when I've got no branching in the middle there on some of those taller trunks. I explain more of that and kind of walk you through it in that first video, but that's why I'm trying to get it to back bud down lower so that I can actually bring the height down a little bit. But since it's not wanting to do that, that's why I'm going with this multi-tiered approach for now. That could all change. Everything's subject to change. So we'll take a closer look inside here in a minute, but like I said, I'm sort of carefully going around it and nipping my way in, kind of taking small bites so that I don't accidentally defoliate a branch and then lose the entire branch. But the further it goes, and the better I can see what's going on, the more, I don't want to say reckless, but you can kind of start taking some big chunks out after that. So that's stage one of trimming it up. Let's take a closer look here. So a couple other tricks I'm doing there is I'm sort of forcing some branches through the middle of those. So that way, as they all fuse together, those branches will be fused in that spot, which is kind of the same as back budding, just in a different way. And the reason that I use this this Teflon plumber's tape is because it's got, oh, there's a good example of one that I'm doing right there. Oh, so this was kind of funny. So this branch coming out of the middle, as I just noticed it was really wiggly and kind of wobbly. And it turns out it wasn't really attached to anything. Its roots were in there and attached to something, but it's just a branch with some roots and it's just growing in there. Interesting. You don't see that a lot. But anyways, the Teflon tape works well because it holds things in place very tightly so that they can fuse together, but it's got some stretch to it so that it doesn't cut into the bark, which wires will do. I found all kinds of fun stuff in here. I found what appears to be a butterfly or a moth. Just kind of living in the hollowed out trunk there. Some of these roots aren't connected to anything, so I nip at those just to see, is there any life in this thing, or should I just get rid of it? Looks dead. So I'm thinking, okay, it's probably dead, and then, oops, that part's alive. You see the difference there. See that white sappy stuff. So chances are it's probably going to die now that I did that. Oopsie. But I'll leave it there just in case, grows out some roots and connects. There's a surface root there that it looks like it's kind of rotted and died. A little gunshine now. Start chopping to some of these roots after that last one. And I'm just doing some kind of cleanup, maintenance, just sort of just checking out the status of things. How's it doing? What's going on down there? I find yet another moth. So apparently moths like to burrow into the middle of Ficus Benjaminas and die because they're all dead. I don't even know how many are in there. I sort of dug at it and poked at it for a while. I must have dug 3 or 4 of them out. And leaves fall in there and they're just hard to get to and it sort of bunches up. So I guess I could see why bugs and stuff would like it. So before it's all said and done, I'm going to spray this down with neem oil. I'm going to really soak it just to kill off anything that's in there. Aphids, bugs, whatever. First, I'm wondering what this black stuff is. But I think what that is just original soil that never got washed out completely. I think. It's not soil I'm using, so it must be. I think I didn't want to get too radical on the soil washing out on this first repot, so I imagine that's what it was. Meantime, here's some examples of what's going on there. So I'm looking for branches that are growing inward like that. I'm going to get rid of those. Keep it so that the branches are all growing outward. Here's a couple of examples where I'm trying to graft a branch onto the main trunk there that's all fusing. So it's like a fusion and a graft at the same time. You kind of see what I'm going for there. And aside from that, my operating motto on these is pretty much just to take it down to the last one or two leaves as I'm trimming it, just to give each branch movement. You know, I know it's no fun to have just a long, straight, boring branch, even if it's got a lot of leaves. Here, I'm trying to work some more branches through there. It may take a long time for them to fuse and graft, but gotta start somewhere. So there's a little bit better look at it now that it's cleaned up a little bit more. It's trimmed up. Still early to midsummer, so it's got a lot of growing season left. I would ultimately like to be able to bring that height down. The two-tiered idea is plan B. Plan A is to bring the height down. So sorry it's a little harder to see at this angle in this light, but neem oil, which is great for killing bugs and aphids and whatnot, will also burn your leaves if you have it out in direct sunlight. So I always do it in the shade. And when I do it, I really do it. I mean, I just douse these things in neem oil. I get up underneath and in the crevices and straight down on it so that it runs down into cracks and crevices and under leaves, because that's where these bugs typically hide. They don't sit right on top of the front of the leaf. They get in there and burrow. I wait about 30 minutes or so, and then I give it an extra thorough soak of water. Rinse it all off. Do the same thing underneath leaves, all that. Can't be too careful or too sure. I really don't want to leave any neem oil on there because it will burn up the leaves pretty good. It's like putting on tanning lotion or tanning oil and then just going and sitting in the sun. So give it a good rinse. Here's another look at it now that it's cleaned up, trimmed up, oiled down, rinsed off, and set up to grow some more. Still pretty messy, but we're in the development phase. We're not in the refinement stage yet. Lots of great potential with this one. The playlist is called Bush to Bonsai 2. So you'll see 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 for, you know, which part. This would be like part 5 or something, so 2.5. I've done a total of 3 Bush to Bonsais so far. This is the second one. But be sure to like and subscribe, and you can see updates on this. You can see others that I've done. Here it is now. Got it back out on the bench, ready to grow some more. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think, experiences you've had, etc. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.